Hello, everyone, and welcome back. Thank you very much for tuning in to the Southern California Philharmonic's virtual open house today, May 30th, 2020. We're very glad to have you, and thank you very much for coming and viewing our open house. My name is Branden Muresan. I am the artistic director and conductor of the Southern California Philharmonic, and from my studio to yours, I would like to welcome you. We have a very, very special guest on today, a dear friend of mine for many, many years, a colleague, a collaborator, and an incredible musician, guitarist, pedagogue, in crossing over from all mediums of music, from popular music to jazz to classical. We were very honored and lucky to have him join the orchestra. As I'm sure a lot of you remember our Spanish concert last year with Maestro Fred Benedetti, and he has agreed to join us today and to talk a little bit about himself and a little bit about music. And so without further ado, I'd like to welcome Fred Benedetti into the interview. Hello, Fred. How are you?
I'm great, Brandon. How are you doing?
Very good. Thank you very much for being with us today. I can't tell you how much we appreciate this.
Well, that's my pleasure.
So tell us a little bit, Fred, about how you got your start in music, when the bug bit you, your influences, and how you came about getting to where you are today.
Let's see. Well, very early on, I was surrounded by music because my father played the guitar. He wasn't a professional guitarist, but an incredible, I would say as an amateur guitarist, had never really studied formally. He had an incredible ear, and he was able to pick music out and really get very, very close. As a matter of fact, most of the recordings I heard when I was younger were the recordings of Andres Segovia playing classical guitar. I mean, I still remember that, and I remember him playing pieces, and unbeknownst to me then, I didn't know that he had picked out most of this. I mean, he had picked it out by ear. So he was playing, these Renaissance pieces, Baroque pieces and things by ear and literally getting all the notes. I mean, I was, at the time, he's my dad and he's just playing the guitar. Oh yeah, everyone just picks up the guitar and does that, and so later, when I discovered, I said, Dad, you never learned formally? He said, no. And I said, yeah, obviously you don't read notes. I said, you're just picking this up by ear. And he says, yeah, I just listen to it and I figure out where it should go on the guitar. And you know what? And actually his ability to hear timbre was so good that he could figure out what strings Segovia was playing the note on. So he would actually, he would appropriately finger it on the instrument. So I think to myself, my gosh, if he could have had formal training, right? And classical. That's incredible. Well, that's the thing, is to pick out each of these individual harmonies, I mean, he was picking out, for the most part, the correct intervals and things. It's a tenth, it's not a third. It's, I mean, he's hearing all that stuff. So that obviously was a remarkable influence to start with.
Absolutely. That's amazing.
Yeah. And I do remember the times when he would play, sort of a quasi flamenco. He would do rusquiatos and stuff, and I remember being on a rocking horse, and when he would play fast or he would play slow, and I would move with it. So he would start playing slow, so I would just go slow, and then he would start playing fast. It was like a game we played with music.
That's amazing.
Yeah, to have that as a starting point was obviously, it was incredible. So it was kind of already there, even if it wasn't in the genes, which I think it probably was.
Oh, yes.
And so, so learning a little bit of that early on, he taught me a few little chords. And then, of course, you graduate to being kind of a 9 or 10-year-old that thinks he knows everything. And then I would say, hey, Dad, show me how to play this Beatles song, and he would play the chords. And then I would kind of hear it like he was playing it sort of straight. And I said, that's not right, and I remember my dad would go, those are the right chords. And I'm saying, yeah, but that doesn't sound right.
Amazing.
So yeah, I think he kind of gravitated towards, all right, you do it on your own. And then it wasn't until I was around 16 when I started studying formal classical guitar, and I was already playing, in the park and with my friends. We were making money playing music
Uh-huh.
by ear, of course. And then my good friend Jeff Pekarik, who you may know, um,
Yes.
he was 16 at the time and started studying formally with Bert Turetsky, and he was with him for about a year, and then he landed in the San Diego Symphony as one of the youngest, uh, contrabass bassists. And I thought to myself, you know what? I think maybe I better study formally because I'm not going to get this. And then I did, and we sought out a classical guitarist. And at the time, the Romeros weren't in town. The
Mhm.
big guy in town was a man named Roberto Torres out of Tijuana, but he lived
Uh-huh.
here in San Diego in La Jolla, and I studied with him for many years
Excellent.
actually, and then went on to state, studied with a few other professors, Joseph Trotter and Lee Ryan, and then finally started working with Celine Romero, and
Amazing.
that
So
was the
you're a
formal
San Diego
beginning.
native, right?
No, actually, I grew up in Hawaii.
Amazing.
Yeah, yeah. So we didn't move here until I was 13 or 14 when my dad retired from the Navy. He was in the military. He was in the Navy.
Amazing. Wow.
Yeah.
So you got to grow up in an idyllic situation with music everywhere in the culture. Hawaiian culture is
Completely.
fabulous
Oh yeah.
musically, yes?
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It was everywhere. It was everywhere. So in school, what did we study? We didn't study guitar. We had ukuleles. Every one of us was given an ukulele when I was in fifth grade.
Amazing.
Yeah, it was outstanding.
Wow, that's fascinating.
Yeah. So anyway, after getting formal lessons, I then when I decided to go into college, which my dad had recommended, he said you really should study but study whatever you want. And I said, well, I think music is pretty obvious. He says, study that. So I went to City College. So it was kind of interesting that now, as a community college professor myself, now I actually began that way. So I really got an introduction to what a community college can offer, and I had the best teacher. His name was Dr. James Paul, and he took five. There was only five of us in a class, and he really got us who hardly knew anything about classical music. There was one guy who studied classical music, and we all were all so envious. And then basically went to San Diego State after that, transferring over there. Got my bachelor's degree there, and then eventually a graduate degree, the master's degree. But in between that time, I met other musicians, other guitarists, and we formed a quartet, and we started playing professionally. Had a lot of my first vinyl record was with this quartet. So many things happened from that association as well, and then
Amazing.
eventually leading to I think the pinnacle of my career, which was to be able to actually study with Segovia himself at the
I
master.
was going to say, you after listening to these records as a kid, you
Yeah,
actually got the opportunity to study
that's
with Segovia.
that's what is like an incredible dream, to be there with the same person whose music was influencing my father, and being on stage there and working with him, having my parents watch in the audience too.
That's incredible.
It
Wow.
was.
And
It was.
also with the Romeros as well. I mean,
Oh, they're
some of the
incredible.
finest teaching.
Right here in our backyard, Del Mar, California.
Amazing.
I know.
Wow.
It's been a pretty charmed life, let me say.
Well, and it's little understood that, San Diego is kind of the mecca of classical guitar playing in the
Well,
world
I think it's
today.
because of the Romeros. I think, a great deal because of their influence for sure.
Excellent. Now, what are you up to today, Fred?
Well, continuing to teach as a full-time instructor at Grossmont College. This is going on my 35th year, and
Amazing.
full-time, and then also about 28 of those years also teaching as an adjunct professor at San Diego State too. These days, I'm not studying. I'm not teaching regular classes at State. I used to do the guitar ensemble there and a
Uh-huh.
couple of other classes, but now just as a studio faculty member. And what I've still continuously have been enjoying is to see some of my students from Grossmont College who then transfer over to State, and so many of them have gone on to finish their graduate degrees and gone on to teach themselves. They're teaching in different colleges and secondary schools. So some of those students that come to Grossmont College now, I call them my grand students.
Right? I was going to say
Well, they are. They
three
said,
generations.
yeah, I studied with Mr. Lawrence. Well, he was my first student. What?
That's
Yeah,
amazing.
man, can I tell you stories about him? Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
So,
yes.
so anyway, the the position at Grossmont College has been my kind of my focal point, and it's been a remarkable one. As you know, after teaching there yourself.
I have been honored to have you as a colleague for 19 years now. I'm coming up on 20
I
years
know
this year,
it goes
amazingly.
fast, doesn't it? It really
Yes, it does.
unbelievably fast.
It's amazing. And to watch the influence that you have over the college community and the excitement that you create. I mean, in my music appreciation classes, my students always ask me, can I go to a Fred Benedetti concert? Is that okay? Are you kidding me? Of
Wow.
course it is.
Oh wow.
So it's been an amazing influence, and you have had the opportunity to play with people like the San Diego Symphony. You even played the Star Spangled Banner for the Padres, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's amazing.
I couldn't believe it when they asked that. Someone said, "Would you play the Star Spangled Banner?" At a Padres game, and I said, "Wait a minute. I don't sing, or rather, I won't sing there for sure." And they said,
Right?
"No, no, 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 no. We want you to play it on the guitar." And I said, "Well, that's something." And I said, "Yeah, of course I will." So I kind of put together the tune, made an arrangement of it. But what I also did was, because I knew that having to play the melody and the chords, at one point I could play it, but it would be so simple. So what I
Yeah.
did was I used my loop station, and I pre-recorded a part that would accompany me so that I could really play way up on the neck, and then
Uh-huh.
brought my small little amplifier, and then had the loop station. So when I went up on there, you're right there at home plate, recording. I just
Amazing.
punched it, and I was able to play along with it, and then it made it sound like it was that much more full. I wasn't trying to fool anybody by it, but I just wanted to make sure that I could get the two octaves of the melody. So, and you could hear people singing along too. So,
Amazing.
and
What an experience.
this is really interesting. I think it was the Houston Astros that were playing, that where I would come out from, and I got to see underneath in the dugouts. You know how they get in and everything like that. But I was
Uh-huh.
right next to the dugout where you normally can't be right there near the players. And the Houston Astros manager goes, "Hey, you're Italian, aren't you?" And I go, "Yeah, I'm half Italian." He said, "I just told this guy," and this other guy, he had an Italian, surname. He goes,
Uh-huh.
"I just told him, well, there's an Italian that can actually play." And
Whoa.
I said, "Whoa, man, this guy's joking around. This is a manager for the Houston Astros. He's messing
That,
with me here, and
that's amazing.
it was funny, because that just tells you that across genres or across anything, we're human beings, and we got that humor between us, and I don't know, it was quite the experience. It was really good.
That's amazing. And that humor, that personality, it's what infects your music. It really is. And I think it's been drawing audiences to you for years and years and years. It's so amazing. Your musicianship, the opportunity to conduct you in an ensemble, the musicianship and the collaboration, the feeling of being able to capture up into your interpretation was just absolutely magical.
Oh,
I
well.
enjoy conducting you tremendously, Fred.
Well, it was so easy to work with you, Brandon. I mean, the simpatico, I mean, it's just,
Thank you.
all I needed was just a little movement, and I knew what you were asking for, what you needed, or where you were.
That's helpful, isn't it? I mean, as a
Yeah, I
soloist.
think so.
And tell us a little bit about your experience with the Southern California Philharmonic.
I had a blast. Let me just say that first.
Thank
And
you.
you've got such great people there, and it's it shows the type of leadership that you give to that orchestra, the kind of reception that I was given from them. I mean, the members of the orchestra, just wonderful people, and I do. They're just wonderful people, and you also give them that. I know you're giving them such a positive influence on the whole experience. And so going in there, and because sometimes you'll go into with an orchestra, and sometimes there's even a little bit of an attitude, that like as a soloist, okay, or indifference, all right, well, this is the guy this week, or this is the gal this month,
Right.
and I totally felt so very welcomed, and I was happy to hear that everyone had really checked out their music, was enthusiastic. It was a wonderful experience. And, I've only played the Iron Wes, I think maybe 5 or 6 times in my career, with an
Wow.
orchestra. With an orchestra, I've played it many times with piano accompaniment or a string quartet, but there's
And I've
nothing
had the
like.
honor of embodying 2 of those 5. I didn't know
I
that at
think,
all.
yes,
Amazing.
yes, indeed. And remember, or rather, in my memory, those were the remarkable ones. So thank you for that.
Wow, Fred,
Yeah.
what an honor. Thank you so much. I
Oh,
had no idea before this interview that that was the case.
oh, of course, yes.
Amazing.
I
And
wish we
again,
had footage from that one, the first one too. All I have is I have a little bit of audio, but anyway, we were. Did you tell the funny story about what happened with the video? That the video
I
the first time we performed, my wife brought the video camera and I said it's okay. The conductor said it's okay. The theater said it's okay, and then she saw a sign that says you can't videotape.
oh,
So she pointed the videotape camera downwards and then just recorded the audio.
oh no.
And I was so excited because I said, "Oh, I think we really did a great performance,"
Yeah,
And I
yeah.
got home and she said, "I didn't videotape," and I went, "Oh my
Oh
goodness." So anyway,
no.
so this time I said, this is fail safe, foolproof rather. We're going to get this." So she sat in the front, as you remember, and
Yes.
we had the camera on and everything like that, and then videotaped the performance. We got
Mhm.
home. I was so excited because I knew that we had just done a wonderful performance.
Yes.
I plugged it in, no sound, no audio.
Oh,
And I thought, wait a minute. And I looked on the track. There was nothing. There was no the microphone wasn't plugged in because I had an external, really nice microphone, and it
uh-huh.
needed to be plugged in. And that's when I called you and I said, you know what? Did anybody do audio? And fortunately, you had a complete audio recording made,
Yes.
and I was able to take that audio and put it underneath the video.
Amazing.
But I
Well,
can't.
that decides it. We're going to have to do it again.
Oh yeah, for my wife.
Right. Third time's a charm, I think.
Right. Yeah. Yes.
Amazing. Well, we're very lucky to have you here, Fred, and it's been such an honor collaborating with you and working with you. And without further ado, I would like to present that magical performance of the Concierto de Aranjuez by Joaquin Rodrigo, collaborating Fred Benedetti and the Southern California Philharmonic. Thank you all for joining us, and a special thanks, Fred, for being here with us today.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Uh, let's enjoy.